Hello and welcome. This is Gina on episode 9 of Healing Vibrations. This is a broadcast that aims to change the perspective of illness to actually see it as a gift. And today I'm really excited to be joined by Andrea Thomas, who is a fellow coach. She is a health mindset coach. She is also living with the challenges of multiple sclerosis. And today we are going to talk about illness. Is it a gift? Our beliefs, what is in our, what we can change, what's in our power to change, and anything else that might come up. So welcome, Andrea. Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Gina.
And so tell us a little bit about your story then, and how you became a health mindset coach.
Well, a long story, as always. These things are always long, aren't they? So my diagnosis was in 1995, so I was only 21, 22.
Wow.
And it was quite dramatic. I think I might have told you before, but I'll tell everyone else. So I was in my final year at university, and very, very quickly started with these weird symptoms, numbness, tingling, pins and needles. Didn't hold myself up properly, eyes started going funny, so it was all very quick and all very dramatic. Was sent to hospital. They sent me home with stress. I travelled home. They told me to rest. It was Easter holidays, and I didn't go home. I went to my boyfriend's in Manchester because you want to be with your boyfriend at 21, not your mum and dad. Yeah. And then I went back to the doctors on the Tuesday, so we're talking like less than a week.
Right.
And he sent me straight to hospital, and that's where I stayed for the next few months.
Wow,
because
months.
Within 2 weeks I was paralyzed from the neck down, blind, incontinent, couldn't move a muscle. So Jesus. It was quite dramatic. It was quite severe. They were testing me for everything. And one day they came in and said, "Oh, you do know we're testing you for multiple sclerosis." This was before I ended up in a wheelchair. And I said, "Oh, well," in my head, I said, "Oh, that's okay." I didn't really know anything about it. And I thought, "Oh, that's okay. I haven't got that because I'm not in a wheelchair." Because I thought I think there was some character on Neighbours or something that had it, and she was in a wheelchair, and that's all I knew.
You know, isn't it?
Yeah. And then obviously I was having panic attacks because all these weird things were happening to my body, and it just, I don't know, I've told this story so many times. So I forced him to tell me. My mum and dad went with me at the time because I was like, "No, you're telling me it's inflammation of the nerves." Obviously, I now know that inflammation of the nerves is multiple sclerosis, but it didn't sound inflammation of the nerves. What do you mean? That doesn't sound anything. Tell me what it is. What's going on? And then he said it to me, and that I can't really remember my reaction, but I went downhill even more, and obviously I needed 24-hour care for a few, I don't know, a couple of months.
Wow.
And physio, OT, all the care. But while I was in hospital, it was okay because you're in this bubble of a hospital and an institution that's all set up to care for you, to physically look after you, and cleaning your teeth, going to the toilet, having a wash. It's all there. But when you then leave the bubble of an institution and you're put into the real world, having to manage a incurable disease and everything that goes with that, that's a different animal beast to manage. So by the time I left hospital, obviously I was physically in a better position. So I was still using a wheelchair, though I could stand up and
Right.
you know,
Okay.
do various
you could move
things,
about a bit.
move about, but I think I wasn't allowed to leave hospital until I could walk up a step.
Yes.
And my eyesight had come back. And my continence had come back, which was quite important as a 22-year-old. And well, for any age. And but then obviously I was in a strange city because I lived in Wales and I was now in Manchester with my boyfriend. So everyone had graduated university. I didn't have a job. I didn't know what my physical limitations would be. I didn't know if I could go down the career path. So it was all.
That must have been really frightening.
It was very frightening, very lonely, and that was probably just the lowest time. But then since then, over the years, because that's obviously 20 odd years ago, and you find your feet again, well, literally and metaphorically find your feet again. And my MS is RRMS, so remission relapse. So I found a job, I got settled, got married, but you're always thinking, when's the next one happening? When's the next one? When's the next one? And then the next one happened, and that was my whole right side was affected. You could literally like draw a pen down it. But since my first attack, I have chosen not to go down the medication route. But that's my personal. There was just something inside me that said, let your body heal.
Yeah.
And touch wood, up to now it always has. Obviously I'm left with symptoms from each attack, but I can manage them. But the thing that I couldn't manage and couldn't control and had so much just hated it was the
stress
fatigue,
about
the fatigue.
Right.
Because what I now know that I didn't know then was that I had two relationships with MS. One was that I ignored it. It wasn't going to define me. I wasn't going to be a victim of it. I would push it away. I would stick it in a box and I would pretend it didn't exist. Relationship one. Relationship two, when inevitably the beast came out and knocked me off my feet and
you couldn't ignore it.
I'm functioning. That was the resent, the anger, the hate, the how dare you, I'm not good enough. Why have I allowed this to happen again to me? All that. So it was two very
not very positive.
Yes, relationships. And now, after doing all the work that I've done, a similar path to you, I would imagine, and my relationship with MS is constructive, is mutually respectful, I always liken it to a marriage that you can't divorce. So if your partner has cheated on you, if your partner's cheated on you, then all that trust has gone, and you can either choose to resent him forever, ignore what's happened forever, leave him, or work through it. And I was doing all of them except working through it. And now me and MS have got a very, I now see my fatigue as my messenger and my MS as my gift.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. So what do you think your MS has gifted you then?
It's gifted me, well, now since I went down the health coaching, since well, what happened about 5 years ago was which is totally unrelated to MS, but my mother-in-law was living with cancer quite well. You know, she was an inspiration on the cancer side of things. And then eventually it took a turn for the worse. And I also took redundancy from work at the same time. And I cared for her along with family and my husband. And then when you witness somebody vibrant and full of life, basically wither away in front of your eyes, it changes you. And I just thought, no more, because my health for 20 odd years had done this. I was either what I thought was really healthy, or I was down here, off work with fatigue, with an MS attack. And I just thought, I don't want this anymore. I want the second half of my life to be balanced. If I can be healthy for some of the time, I must be missing something. There must be something missing, because I used to think, well, it's just the nature of the disease, because you have periods of remission, you have periods of attack, but it's not as black and white and as simple as that. And I hadn't done that mind-body connection. And when the mind-body connection started to slot into place, and that now my life has taken this path on around coaching and helping other people, I would only have found this path. The only reason I've gone down this path is
to help you deal with the MS.
Accept a gift.
Yeah.
No,
I totally resonate with that, because that's how I see it as well. It feels to me that my MS is there to show me I wasn't on the right path for me, and without it, we'd like to think that actually we do the thing that's right for us, but we don't. We do the thing that's easiest, or the thing that we've always known, that habitual path that we've always followed. And I don't know if it's the same for you, but certainly it's forced me to take a real honest look at myself, and to establish what I actually want in life, which wasn't an easy thing. It's like I didn't really know. I just carried on, and I was doing what my husband wanted, what family wanted, what society wanted, without a thought, without even a conscious thought about what I really wanted.
I totally agree. And it's only when you see it that way, it's only in hindsight, isn't it? It's only when you open your eyes to that perspective that it's like, oh my word, this is what it's been telling me for 20 odd years. Why is it taking me so long?
Because we have this thing called resistance, that we don't want to change our path. We think we're happy going the way we're going, but happy's not the word, is it? It's just that we're all, you're just in that way, you're on that hamster wheel, and actually to get off.
And it's totally ironic how I was so resistant, and so like that word victim was such a horrible swear word to me. I will not be a victim of this disease, that I pushed it away, and it was so ironic that I kept being a victim of it. So avoiding the word and avoiding the MS and everything about it was actually, I was constantly being highlighted that I was, which was making me thinking I wasn't good enough all the time.
It's that avoidance of, if people talk about the elephant in the room, but it's like a big fat elephant in the room that we're just not addressing, we're just not looking at, and
but we're not taught to look at it. We're not taught to look at these things. The medical profession were fantastic with me. I have nothing but praise for the NHS and what they did for me, but it's not geared up for chronic illness.
You're right.
It is a sickness management system, really. I'm sure we've all heard that before. And so as long as they patch you up, so they patched me up, they got me physically well enough to leave hospital, and then on your way. But everything in terms of, well, what do I do now? How can I manage it? None of that was, it has got a little bit better, a little bit. to 20 odd years ago, but it still is, you know, it's emergency care, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, I think I've got a whole speech behind the whole idea that if we were given a diagnosis in a different way, or even as doctors saw it in a different way, rather than, like you say, the manage a sickness that's occurred, that actually doing a bit of digging deeper to work out what the root cause, because a chronic illness doesn't just appear because of one thing that you've done, you know, in your life, you know, one dodgy eating thing, one, you know, it's a myriad of different lifestyle choices. And it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, isn't it, that you then got to try and piece together. But actually, once we start just accepting that actually it is a giant jigsaw puzzle, and you know, it is, I don't know, fixable is not the right word, but it is solvable.
Yeah.
That actually, but there's no one answer. There's no one answer that fits everybody.
No, exactly. And how you're managing your MS and how I'm managing my MS, it will be totally different.
Yeah, but even our symptoms, because you said, you know, like the fatigue. I mean, I know, because you're not the only person that's told me fatigue is one of the most debilitating parts of it. And, you know, that's something, touch wood somewhere, that's not, you know, I've not had to deal with. But we've still got the same disease. Yeah, our symptoms are, you know, totally different.
Yeah. And you again, we're all put in the same pot, isn't it? So we're treated, you know, well, let's treat you because you've got MS. Let's treat you because you've got diabetes. Let's treat you over here. You've got thyroid problems. And we just see the disease. We're treated for the disease. We're not treated for us as the individual, this whole complex, amazing human being and a human body. It's so much more complicated than what the doctors have us believe.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that it frustrates me a little bit, not with the doctors themselves, but the way that our medical, the way they're taught. They're not taught very much at all about nutrition. They're not taught very much at all about, you talked about earlier about the mind body, which the more I've learned about this, it's so, you know, what we believe is so important.
Yeah.
And I don't know about when you were actually, I mean, you talked a little bit about when you were actually given that diagnosis and you almost had to force it out of them. But, you know, I was told, yeah, you've got an incurable disease. So that's it. There is no cure. You know, it will get worse. Oh yeah, there's nothing that you can do about it.
Yeah.
And the three massively disempowering statements that you just take on because the doctor told you and the doctor knows best.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've had this conversation before. How you're told is so important.
Yeah.
And I think they avoided telling me because I was young and because it is such a weighted diagnosis, incurable disease. So I don't think they wanted to tell me, but I forced them to.
And also not knowing, your mind goes into overdraft, doesn't it? Not knowing is almost worse because you're killing yourself. Well, I certainly was killing myself off with some, you know, awful brain tumor type thing that I'd got months to live, and your mind definitely goes to the worst.
Yeah, but I think because my health was, on the face of it, really quite good. You know, I managed, you know, I've worked, I've had children, I'm married, lived a full life, social life, party girl, all the rest of it. So on the face of it, my health was always okay until it wasn't okay. And then it was MS's fault and everything like that. It was that mind-body connection. So I thought, well, I'm eating okay. And I knew if I didn't eat well, if my diet did go off the rails for a little bit, then my MS, my symptoms came out. And if I didn't exercise, my symptoms came out. I knew that was everyone knows that, you know, but it was the mind body connection. It was what I was telling myself. It was and stress was massive for me.
Was stress, well, we know now what happens in your body when you're stressed, and also when you're in fear. And I think,
Yes.
so when we're given a diagnosis like that, it doesn't matter how it's actually delivered, how gentle it is and how it's wrapped up, it still gets delivered with a big dose of fear. We've got this incurable thing that we can't do anything about, that's going to get worse and potentially have us in a, and that nobody wants to hear that. That's an awful thing to hear. And then your body goes into a place where it can't heal.
Yeah,
because
absolutely,
because we're in that fight or flight thing, and everything's getting ready to run for your lives or fight for that terrifying threat that's there, but it's not there in the way that it.
And that.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. Your screen froze a little bit.
Oh, it froze a little bit. Yeah. So it's not there because back in the day, the fight or flight would have saved our lives, because it would have been some animal wanting to eat us. So we'd literally have to fight it or run. But MS isn't. You do call it a beast, but it's not quite the same way. You can't get all your fisticuffs in it and smash it in the face and knock it sideways and then it's gone. It's a different way of dealing with it, isn't it?
Yeah, and
like a new age beast.
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. And I sort of have difficulty now, only because of where I am and what I've worked through, that I don't even like the word fight it. What MS warrior?
Yes, no, I have a bit of an issue around that as well.
Yeah, because it's not something. I've fought it for 20 years and it didn't get me anywhere. But now working with it and living with it and have this cooperative relationship and respectful relationship with it, it's just wonderful. It's just amazing. So, as soon as I'm a bit tired today because I had a late night, whereas normally I'm really quite good now. I really honor my circadian rhythm. I really listen to my body. Really, I understand the foreign language of listening to my body. I've learned a foreign language, and it's just amazing that I can pick up on the very, I can't get my words out.
Nuances, the sort of nuances of
so just one tired day, I can feel my symptoms, whereas normally they just fade into the background and sit there quietly, snoozing. But as soon as I have a late night or don't sleep very well or do too much, then straight away it's there, whereas I would have ignored it before. Now I'm like, oh right, you're here, okay, what didn't I do? I reflect what needs to be put back on track and go straight back on track, and everything's fine again.
So how did you start that process off? So if we've got some people listening to us that maybe, because like you said earlier on, it's like, we weren't ever taught. We've never been taught in our childhood to, if we get sick, what's your body telling you? We're taught to go to the doctors to get a pill, and the pill will make us okay. And we're taught, you'll be all right, just get over it, rather than let's sit with it and let's actually really feel into that pain. Because again, pain is seen as a real bad thing. We want to cover it with painkillers. We want to get rid of pain. But actually, what is pain there for? Pain is there to show us that something's not quite right. Pain keeps us alive, because without pain, then we're not going to know that to take our hands off the hot flame, or it's quite a simple thing. So, and again, I feel like I talk about that a bit sort of generally wise, because I don't personally suffer from pain.
Me too.
But I do recognize that actually when I do have a pain in an area, that it is there to tell us something. And actually it's quite interesting, even if I've had a bit of a sort of, they call it golfer's elbow, it's different through the side from the tennis elbow. So I have had a bit, but even just sometimes when I sit and feel into that, it does dissipate, it does move and go, rather than I'm just going to give myself some you know, anti-inflammatory tablets and hope for the best and move on. So it's definitely, I don't know, it encouraged me, I suppose. And when I've learned, and similar to you, when you start learning about this stuff and actually learning about, there is a lot that we can take responsibility for and we can control. That's more than you think, more than we're,
yeah, so much more than you think, so much more. You've got more control. Nobody knows your body better than you. Nobody, you know. The scientists know more about the, you know, how the disease manifests in terms of, and they've got statistics and all the rest of it, but I'm not a statistic. I'm a human being, and I'm a complicated human being with layers and layers that make me whole, and my MS is just one part of that. But learning to listen to your body, and you know, what I think affects what symptoms I have in my body, and what symptoms I have in my body affects how I think. You know, we're completely interconnected, and it's once you start, I actually think now, I mean, God, this is a huge statement to make, but I actually think people who haven't got a chronic illness are like they're like muggles, just blindly going about their life, taking their body for granted, taking their health for granted, and just think that this machine will just carry on. You know, even your car has an annual MOT and a service, but most people, my husband is one of them, he doesn't look after himself at all, and he just thinks his body's going to go on forever.
And it's not, is it? It's, I mean, I know we're obviously, all our bodies aren't really designed to go on forever and ever and ever, but they are designed to keep us going as long as our soul needs to be in our body. And actually, there is a lot that we can do, like you talked about, like the car maintenance, sort of, it's the same sort of program. And even, you know, having a time, I mean, holidays is a good example. People taking holidays, and I think recently people maybe have not taken as many holidays, not taking that break away. And some people don't take, you know, I've heard of people having years without taking a break. And there's something, I mean, I'm in the Isle of Wight at the moment, so it's a bit of a working break, but even just being in a different location and feeling different vibes, and just allowing yourself rest time, I think is really, really important.
I talk about this a lot, because we are taught to have this linear life of, you know, you're born, you learn to walk, you learn to talk, you go to school, you pass your exams, you get a job, and you just keep going on this linear track, like we're just some sort of, like, you know, robot, two-dimensional being. And the only time we give ourselves permission to rest is holidays, not even Sundays anymore, and when we retire. Woe betide you get ill and being forced to stop, because your body,
that's exactly what it's doing, isn't it? That's exactly what it's doing.
Exactly. So when that does happen and you're forced to stop, then it's all the, oh, I can't be good enough, I'm you know, why has this happened to me and not somebody else, and all the rest of it. So a lot of what I talk about is building in rest into our day-to-day life.
So how does that look like for you these days then? What's your day look like, or your week?
Well, it's different all the time, isn't it? But for me, the foundation is the breath. So I do meditate, and I love meditating, but I don't generally do it sat cross-legged on the floor. I'll do a walking meditation, or I'll just have some beautiful music. But a lot of how I see the power of breath is just in our 20,000 breaths that we take every day. Wow. We've got 20,000 breaths that we take every day.
That much it is, 20k breaths.
So when I'm not eating or talking much else, when I'm not eating or talking, I am just enjoying that deep breath in and that slow breath out. When I'm making a cup of tea, putting my clothes on.
So just incorporating. I mean, I personally, I've been practicing that and turning breath work into a practice more and more. And I'm trying to doing exactly what you said. So every time you can feel yourself stopping, whether it's at the traffic lights or the kettle boiling or anything going on, that actually even just taking 1 or 2 deep breaths can have a massive benefit.
And because I really need that, because I am quite
energetic.
I'm quite energetic, and I get carried away, and I'm overexcited, and I'm sort of high maintenance.
It's grounding.
Yeah. So I have to, and so my energy then falls off a cliff because I'm like this all the time. It just grounds me. That's exactly right. Feet firmly planted on the floor, connected to the earth. 2 deep breaths. Oh.
Yeah, that's good.
That's it. That's it. And you know, there's plenty of other things that you can do. You know, I love a bath with all my candles. I love a walk, a daily walk with the dog, out in nature, all those lovely things. But you've got this beautiful tool that you use every day, 20,000 times a day. It's free, it's cheap, it's there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can do it, can't they?
You can communicate. It's the only way we can communicate to our subconscious and our fear-based brain. So I love that idea as well, that I'm communicating to my fear and keeping my fear nice and settled.
So when you talk about fear, so how would you know that you've got a fear going on then?
I can feel it in my body straight away. My MS is telling me.
Right. So do you actually feel a bit of a flare up in the symptoms here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll get like a heaviness in my arm. So that heaviness is there now because I'm talking to you now. If it continues, it'll feel like like it's been burnt or the skin's been ripped off.
Wow.
I get a lot of nerve pain in my jaw and teeth. There's a lot of heaviness and a lot of like numbness, like dead feeling in my feet, which, you know, on their own, that it's fine. There's a lot of off balance and things like that, but not to the point where anyone else would notice. Yes. But I can just feel it sometimes, but it doesn't really ever get to that point anymore, because I'll notice when the arm or the tingling might start, and just take myself off for 10 minutes, have a few bit of meditation or a few deep breaths. I always take a lunch break now. I never used to take a lunch break.
No.
Simple things that have a massive effect.
And actually, because even if you talked about people who haven't been diagnosed with a chronic illness, well, I think probably, you know, there are a lot of people living with chronic illnesses that maybe haven't been diagnosed because the symptoms are so varied, and also could be so, like you said, you were first sent home because it was stress. Well, I was exactly the same. You know, I got massive bout of double vision. I literally saw 2 of everything. Oh, it must be stress. Go home. I got as far as to having prism glasses made for me to correct it. So it's just before I calmed down enough, I think, for it to dissipate. So I think many people, it's not to scare the life out of people, but it's just to recognize that actually you don't have to get a diagnosis. You don't have to wait to get a diagnosis before you can make some changes. Yeah. And it's strange, isn't it? Because a friend of mine actually, you know, knows that he's doing things that are, you know, that is not, he's eating too much, he's not eating the right food, he's drinking too much, he's not having enough exercise, he knows all this stuff, but it's almost wanting a diagnosis to force him into doing things that are healthy, because he won't do it on his own. And isn't that a strange place to be in? It's like, well, if I know I've got something, then the doctor will tell me that's it, you've got to lose weight, or you've got to do more exercise, or whatever it is.
But that's usually when you've gone too far, when you've had the diagnosis, isn't it? That's you're then starting at the bottom of the mountain and trying to climb this huge mountain. if you start now, then you just have to do a few little hill walks and you'll be there.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't mean to say you have to radically change your diet or give up doing something that you want to do. It's just,
yeah,
I mean, bringing in breathwork's got to be the easiest thing that anybody can do.
yeah,
You know, you can do it anywhere. You don't need any special equipment. You can just, you know, set a little timer on your phone to breathe properly every, I don't know, start with once a day, go to twice a day, and build that in. And even that in itself will help to lower your stress. And when your stress is lowered, your body's in a better place to heal and also take on the nutrients that you're eating and, you know, get into a relaxed place. So yeah, it's so possible.
But again, we're not even taught that. It is changing. It is changing.
I think they're starting doing some mindful stuff at schools now, aren't they?
Yeah. But like when I was at work, and I managed a team and things like that, so there was lots of expectations, lots of demands. But you just think, and then you have the family at home, and you're commuting, and you just think, well, that's not stress. That's just life.
Yeah.
Well, no, we're not built humans, and we're not built to just keep going at that level. There has to be that, you know, the human being and the human doing, and we have to be able to combine them both.
Yeah, definitely. And I think now more than ever in this world where there's no shut off time, you know, like you said earlier, didn't you? You said we don't even have Sundays off now, whereas I think, I don't know, you're a bit younger than me, but Sunday used to be like a day off, and slowly like shops started opening and things like that. Yeah, and before our time, Sunday would have been a complete close down unless you were going to church. Absolutely. Which again, a church, whether you believe in God or not, or like it's that reflective time, isn't it? It's a time of coming together as a community, of praying, and so which is a form of meditation. So actually, how we used to live back in the day, before we had the wonder of the internet and TVs all around in every single place that you go, and there's screens everywhere that you look, and
and you'd have short bursts of stress, which is what we're designed to have. Short bursts of stress,
just shake it off and move on.
But now it's just constant.
So you've got this chronic stress, and I think that's what it is. You think of, you know, how much there's an epidemic of chronic diseases that, you know, and in this world where we're more highly advanced medically than we've ever been, people are sicker than they've ever been. So there's definitely a paradox which isn't being addressed. It's, you know, it is being addressed, but the likes of us having these conversations. But so that's what I'm hoping with this sort of podcast, and getting people talking and realizing that actually it doesn't have to be this way. We can make some changes. We don't have to wait for a medical person or a scientist to tell us that we've got a condition or a disease in order to, you know, change up how we're doing.
Absolutely.
So tell us a bit more about your coaching then. So do you work mainly with people with MS, or what's your?
No, it's chronic illness, really, because again, I think it's okay. So MS is a disease of the central nervous system and the nerves, but I'm not, you know, like if you've got a heart condition, you're not just a heart. If you've got a kidney problem, you're not just a kidney. We're a whole being. So I think, and a lot of chronic illness symptoms cross over anyway. So no, I have, and to be honest, apart from one or two people with MS, most people have got all sorts of different diseases, or anxiety and depression. That's a big one.
But that comes on the back of it, doesn't it? Because you, like you said earlier, it's like you've always got that thing. Well, the MS is okay now, it's gone, but it might come back at any time. When will it come back, and what will that mean to my life, and what will that mean that it can't do? And I think sometimes as well, we can get so upset about the doors that are closing around us. We can't do that anymore. We can't do that anymore. And that's not, you know, that's not able to. But actually, when we calm down and slow down, and I'm sure you cover that in your coaching as well, that actually but there's still, you can still have an amazing life. It doesn't have to be that life that you thought. A bit like me when I was first on this is where I was going, and it didn't even occur to me to think that I was on the wrong path. I didn't even, so it's made me a lot more mindful, and just allowed me to look at actually what I really want in life.
I don't think, like I said, it was the catalyst of losing my mother-in-law and watching what cancer did to her that was the catalyst, really, not the MS. But then on the back of that, I just thought that, when you've literally been there and witnessed somebody take their last breath, that changes you, and you just think, this is it, one life. And I'm living it on my terms, and I just want to live it well for as long as possible for everyone around me. And I'm going to get on my high. And I'm not willing to just sit back and just let it happen to me. I'm making it happen for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think once you start working, you go on this coaching journey, and before you can coach anybody else, you have to we have to work on our own stuff. And it's not like we work on our own stuff and then it's sorted.
It's a journey. It's an ever evolution, isn't it? I'm learning things all the time. I went on a walk today with the dog, and I had this little epiphany about incurable disease, and I thought, God, that's really heavy. That what we said before, just the word incurable disease. It's just But I thought, well, I'm also an incurable romantic and an incurable optimist. So incurable is just a word. We attach the meaning.
And somebody suggested me on a conversation I had with somebody else, saying, well, we've all got an incurable disease. It's called life. At some point, isn't it? We're, there's going to be an end. We are all going to die, and it's we have to get our head around that. But that's another thing that we don't really want to think about, even though it's totally inevitable. But being in that space, I like sorry, I'm babbling now, but the idea that actually incurable is just a word.
It's just a word. We're the ones. I've really sort of started to look at language quite a lot, and the words, and how we as humans attach meaning to certain words.
Because another word that I've reframed a little bit like this, procrastination.
Okay.
Because procrastination is because it feels like procrastination is a bad thing, because it means you're putting off something that you should be doing. But actually, when you think about procrastination, well, what are you doing when you're not doing that thing? You're doing something. Even if there's something that you're doing is watching Netflix, you're still doing something. So procrastination is just a word that we've given ourselves for choosing to do something different. So if we could be a bit lighter with it and say, well, actually today I'm just choosing to watch Netflix, and that's okay. And we don't have to beat ourselves up, because that feels like a beating up word, doesn't it?
Absolutely. My daughter uses it all the time. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, but it is. It's and I'm all for taking the easy route. That's one of my massive values around health. Take the easy road. Don't add,
don't make it harder.
Don't make it harder. Take the easy road, like taking a couple of deep breaths every day. You don't have to have this new massive great plan to be healthy. You can just right, I'm not going to eat any more dairy. Right, I'm going to do this exercise.
I'm never going to drink again.
Exactly. It's so overwhelming, and it really, really, really doesn't have to be like that.
No, because I heard a nice little phrase today, actually. Drop the struggle. So if it feels like a struggle, just drop that struggle. Just almost.
I had a conversation with a client the other day, actually, just saying that, and I says, "What does it feel like?" We were talking about struggle, and he said it's like when you're going against the wave and you're not getting anywhere. You're in the mud and the wave. I says, right, well, why don't you just ride the wave that way then? It was like, oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's easier. That's easier. Well, I love a metaphor, and in coaching, it's really powerful, isn't it? Because you can actually imagine yourself then being taken by the wave, and how liberating that is, really, rather
And
than
it's
the
just,
trying to
a
battle.
lot of it is like giving yourself permission to ride the wave, or to rest, or to, you know, just have a cup of tea and watch the world go by. You know, it's just giving yourself permission to allow yourself that that's okay. It's fine.
And actually, then you feel you're energized off the back of doing practices like that and making that part of your day, that actually things that we should be doing, or we feel we should be doing, then become easier, although you decide that actually you don't need to do it after all.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's then a conscious choice, isn't it? Instead of just being on this rabbit
do,
where you have no time. It is about building in this rest and reflection into the cycle of your life, really. That's what it's all about, just as much as the doing.
And also, you know, that in turn allows you to get to know yourself better. And it's like you saying with the symptoms in your arm, it's like, you know, you can't say that if you get a stressed arm, if you get an achy arm, that means this, because it means that to you, but everybody else is going to have a different symptom, or it's something else that's going to mean
absolutely. Yeah, you know, like, where do you carry your stress? You know, I always ask that, and a lot of people, it's their shoulders, their head, their belly. Right, well, don't fight it, don't ignore it. What's it helping you to learn about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I can't believe we've talked for this long, because we're coming to the end of our session, and I like to end with a sort of mindful exercise or some sort of meditation, and you said you've got one to share with us. So before we go into that, just remind everybody, this is Andrea Thomas, and where can people find you if they want to find more about what you do?
My website is www.andreathomascoaching.com, but the best place to find me is on Facebook. I've got a free Facebook group. It's called the Energy Bank, where energy is the currency of choice. And come and join me there. And I do some live videos and posts, and nice little community of like-minded people. So that's the best place to get me.
It's a good place to hang out. So
yeah, you're in there, aren't you?
Yeah, I certainly am. So I will in Facebook, when we share this, I'll tag Andrea in, so you can get in touch with her and go and find out more about her, because she's doing some really good work. So
thank you.
It's cool. Yeah. So I'll open the. It's up to you. Show us.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. I'll just get all relaxed now, because I'm all giddy. So if we just get nice and settled, get somewhere nice and comfortable, and put your feet firmly on the floor, nice and grounded. And when you're ready, just close your eyes. Take a comfortable seat, sitting tall but without straining. Relax your face, uncrinkling your forehead and your scalp. Place both hands on your belly and slowly take a deep breath in. Letting the belly press into your palms. Lift the chest and soften the shoulders. At the top of your breath, pause, and now slowly, with control, exhale through the nose. And again, go ahead and inhale, filling the whole body with fresh breath, keeping your face relaxed. Allow the shoulders to melt down your back. And at the top of your breath, pause. And now slowly, with control, exhale. Keep this breath cycling. Notice if this is challenging. Notice if the breath gets stuck anywhere. Where does it get stuck? What is that sensation? Just notice that and let go of any gripping in your nervous system. That's it. Relax your jaw muscles. Turn the corners of your mouth up into a slight smile. Or recognize the opportunity to expand with your breath. Inhale and exhale. Slow everything down. If your mind is distracted, that's okay. It's just your body's way of recalibrating. Inhaling all the way down to the belly and up the spine, feeling that back body expand, and then exhaling, melting the shoulders down the back. Nowhere to go, no place to be, just listening to your breath. Inhale and exhale. Keeping your eyes closed and your gaze within. Ask yourself, what wants to be healed right now? Where do you feel tight in your body? Trust whatever comes to mind. What wants to be healed? Keeping the eyes closed, put one hand on that place of your body that feels tight. Healing only happens in a relaxation state. You cannot heal in a stress state. It doesn't even make sense. So breathe into the place that feels tight. Unblock the tension using your breath. Imagine the breath creating a cleansing spaciousness in that area. Notice with each breath how you can breathe a little bit more spaciousness into that tight area. Focus your awareness on that spot now. What are the thoughts that come up when you focus your attention there? What is the story behind the pain? How has it affected your quality of life? What role does it play in how you identify yourself? If you were going to describe that pain or tension with an emotion, what would it be? Anger, frustration, rejection, disappointment? What would that emotion be? Notice. Take a deep breath in for the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it at the top and exhale for a count of 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, inhale. So the exhale is a little longer than your inhale. Inhaling for 5 and exhaling for 7. Keep the breath circulating. Steady rhythm in and steady rhythm out. Research has shown that strong emotions cause changes in the biochemistry of your body. Simply said, that your biography or your story creates your biology. What is the story you identify yourself with? Is it a wound or an empowering story? Our story creates our biology. Fear or stress, when it's chronically felt and experienced, slows metabolism, increases depression, and influences our overall well-being. Bring your awareness to your breath if you can. Try focusing on that spot right between your eyes. Your thoughts create your life. They set the ambience for what you experience. What you put out comes back to you. When you think only negative things, you manifest that. So as you breathe, inhale fresh thought, fresh possibility. And as you exhale, let go of self-judgment, the inner critic, and thoughts that no longer serve you. Breaths are like inspirations. Each inhale is fresh possibility, new perspective, new inspiration. You can get unstuck in any moment by changing the quality of your breath. Take a few more breaths, just like that, inhaling fresh inspiration, fresh possibility, and exhaling judgment and worry. And when you are ready, return to your natural breath and slowly open your eyes.
Well, I feel a lot calmer now. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It was quite interesting because you can almost feel when you slow right down, you can almost feel your blood pumping through your veins, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that really brings home. So if you have got things going on in your body, it's so worth just taking some moments and doing an exercise and listen back to this, or finding something else similar. Get in touch with Andrea and just because our bodies are talking to us, and if they're in pain or we're living with some things that we don't like really, then yeah, it's not time to get angry and fight the beast. It's time to work in harmony and learn to collaborate with it, I think, because it's not necessarily a beast. Again, a beast is one of those words that we make it sound bad because it's scary, but when you think of a beast in the way of an animal, a beast can also be a cuddly thing, can't it? So turn our beast into a cuddle machine. That would be great.
And it's protective as well, isn't it? A beast, it wants to protect you. You know, it's like, you know, the big mama bear. Mama bear is very protective, isn't she? Yes, so your body's trying to protect you.
Yeah, lovely. So on that note, I shall end today's episode. Thank you so much for Andrea. So Andrea Thomas is Facebook, you will find her, and the Facebook group is called The Energy Bank. So go and check her out on there because she shares some really good stuff, as we've experienced today. So thanks again, Andrea, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you, Gina.